What's up, everybody? Welcome to The Sweat. I'm Jessie Coffield. He's Adam Kaufman. And yes, we are doing this show from the podcast studio.
Doesn't change anything, though. Not really. We're more comfortable. We get to sit down. I don't think you're standing and watching, so that's all right. We're still going to bring you the same old betting and DFS advice, so you should settle in, get comfy as well. We got a big show coming up.
Yeah, let's start with MLB, specifically MLB Price Check with DK Live's Steve Buchanan and Piers Dietrich, plus the Action Network's Matt LaMarca.
All right, guys. Well, Charlie Blackmon, monster game against the Padres, 43 points his last time out, joins Yelich and Trout as the only outfielders over 5,500. So, of that trio, Bukes, which one do you want to go with?
Yeah, we're just going to go right to Blackmon here. I mean, he draws another really good matchup at home at Coors Field against Cal Quantrill. I mean, look, he hasn't really pitched too much, but already in the little time he has pitched, 433 WOBA, 5.09 xFIP with 3 of his 4 home runs to lefties. And then Blackmon at Coors Field against righties just been absolutely ridiculous. 659 WOBA, 660 ISO, 7 of his 14 home runs. He is just absolutely raking at home after a bit of a slow start. So, yeah, I think this is a pretty easy one here.
Bukes, good to see you upgrading your space as well.
I heard the rumor you were going to be going in the podcast studio, so I felt like I had to go somewhere else.
Like into a bigger room as opposed to your normal closet. Piers, what do you think?
Calm down.
It's Blackmon, and I mean, we can just throw out some more stats. Blackmon, 460 WOBA, 330 ISO, and you look across at Quantrill against left-handed bats, he basically mirrors the stats, which is pretty bad. 49% hard contact, 1.8 home runs per 9 at Colorado. You don't really need to think about this one too much.
LaMarca, are you going to make me guess?
You can try, but I'm going Charlie Blackmon. He's kind of
there. It is
like what he did 2 years ago when he's at Coors against right-handed pitching, which is just absolutely dominating. And just to go a little bit more into the StatCast data, which these guys have kind of brought up everything else. Blackmon's smoking the ball over the past 15 days, 252-foot average batted ball distance, which represents an increase of 36 feet when compared to his 12-month average. We've done some work at Fantasy Labs, and increasing your distance is a good predictor of fantasy point scoring. So, given the Coors Field matchup, given what he's done historically against right-handed pitching, and given his recent form, I don't think there's any reason to go away from Blackmon.
Well, Matt, Garrett Cole and Max Scherzer are the only 2 pitchers over 11.5. Do you want either of them, or do you feel like you maybe want to fade the big-name guys?
Yeah, I don't know how you can avoid Garrett Cole tonight. I mean, if you look, he checks pretty much every box you could want for a starting pitcher. First of all, he's been the best strikeout pitcher in baseball this season. He's averaging more than a full strikeout per 9 innings, more than any other pitcher in the league. And he's got a good matchup for strikeout purposes against the Blue Jays. Their lineup has struck out in 26% of at-bats against right-handers over the past 12 months. Then you look at his Vegas data. He's got a 2.9 opponent implied team total, which is the best mark on the slate. He's also a minus 297 favorite. So you got one pitcher who has more strikeout upside, the best opponent implied team total, and is the biggest favorite on the slate. His StatCast data from his past 2 starts is also really, really good. So I don't see how you can avoid him, at least for cash games. If you want to make a case that, he's going to have massive ownership for GPPs, that's fine. But I think if we simulate the slate 100 times, he comes out as the highest scoring pitcher more than any other player.
Steve, Matt has me pretty convinced. What do you think?
Yeah, I think he actually was on Scherzer originally, but when he read the MLB cheat sheet on DK Live, which I did, it brought him back to Cole. So, I appreciate the click and the read. The thing with Scherzer, though, is that this matchup against the Diamondbacks is a pretty tough one. I mean, the Diamondbacks, for coming into the season, wasn't a lot of buzz about them, but they were a pretty good hitting club, and they don't strike out much either. They only have a 21.5 K percentage against righties, which ranks 21st in the league, and kind of like what Matt was saying, there's just so much strikeout upside with the Blue Jays here that it's really kind of hard to miss out on. And we know that Garrett Cole has his issues with home runs, but the Blue Jays don't really hit much anyways to begin with. They don't have a lot of power in that lineup. So everything you would want to worry about with Cole, there really isn't much to worry about. So I'm just going to roll with Cole here.
Pierce, what do you think? Which of these guys that's over 11.5 is going to be worth that salary?
Well, they're both worth it. The question is, how can you get bats that you're really happy with? And you might get bats that you're happy with, but you might miss out on that Colorado-San Diego game. So I know it's crazy to consider not playing them both, but there's options out there that'll let you stack up your offense. Guys that aren't really going to crush the board, but will actually get you enough points that you can get San Diego and the Colorado bats. Like, Brault probably won't get the strikeouts, but he has a really good matchup. Davies has a really good matchup. Andrew Heaney has a really good matchup. Later in the show, Steve's going to talk about Steven Matz, and he has a pretty big projection for him. So if you think Steven Matz is going to do what Steve says later in the show, I think you can get away with fading these guys.
Thanks for the spoiler.
I was going to say, would you classify that as a spoiler alert or a tease?
A tease, like stay tuned to find out.
Yeah, I think he kind of pumped you up a little bit, Bukes. I wouldn't get mad at him.
No, he didn't do that on purpose. He just doesn't know how this industry works. Spoiler.
That's definitely not a spoiler. All right, guys, there are a lot of different highly priced options at shortstop. Just kind of looking at the list here, you get Tatis, Story, Bogarts, Lindor, Andrews, Polanco is another one as well. Each of these guys, with the exception of Lindor, at least a dozen points in the last game. And so, I mean, which one makes the most sense here, Matty?
I'm going with Lindor. He's the cheapest of the group, or at least tied with Bogarts for the cheapest of the group. But I like his matchup versus Ryan Carpenter. Lindor, a switch hitter, but historically better against left-handed pitchers. He's got a 405 WOBA and a 260 ISO against left-handers over the past 12 months. I think the Indians in general are actually a pretty nice team to target tonight. And I think Lindor is the best way to go about doing that.
Bukes, spoiler alert, all these guys are at least $5,000. You should just be aware of that, I think, before you make your choice. So you going to pile on with Lindor or pick a different guy?
Yeah, I actually like Lindor a lot, too, kind of like what Matt was saying, too. I mean, this is just a really good spot for the Indians as a whole. And honestly, I think Lindor's ownership isn't going to be too crazy either. Once you go up to this tier, you mentioned some of the guys that are up there, like Trevor Story. If you're going to be paying that much, a lot of eyes are going to go right to Story. And honestly, he's been so much better against righties at home this season than he has lefties. So he's kind of doing the reverse of what he did last year. So I think this is a good spot for not only for Lindor, but his ownership as well. So yeah, I'm definitely going to roll Lindor here.
Pierce, unanimous?
No, I'm going out in Colorado with Tatis. You got Tatis, not a big sample size yet with him, but he is smoking the ball in what we've seen. And then Hoffman, also not a big sample size, but he's getting crushed as well. He's giving up almost 3 home runs per 9. And even if you look at his minor league numbers, he gave up 8 home runs in 6 starts. He's got a 94-mile-per-hour fastball that they talk a lot about, but the thing has an xWOBA over 500. I just can't get away from this Colorado game.
Well, with all the big names come big salaries, right? So we got to find some value somewhere. So how about at third base? We got some guys here for you. Seattle's Kyle Seager, he's $3,700. Cleveland's Jose Ramirez for $3,500. Or the Brewers' third baseman Travis Shaw. So, Steve, who do you think brings the most value for tonight's slate?
I think they all stink. I'm actually going to go on a different note. I like Hanser Alberto from Baltimore. I mean, he doesn't hit a ton of power, but he's been excellent against lefties. He's got a 419 WOBA, like I said, only a 225 ISO, so you're not going to get a ton of power from him. But he's batting leadoff. He's only 3,400. I think he's a really good way to save some money here, and he's not on the list because all those guys stink, and Alberto's a good pick.
Okay, Pierce, are you going to choose one of our guys, or did you come up with one of your own?
Yeah, well, I've got one on the back burner just in case we were going to go that route. But if I had to pick between these guys, I would go to Seager. He's okay. And Bassett's giving up power to left-handed bats and a 50% fly ball rate. But Steve's pretty much right. These guys stink. I like Matt Chapman. If you're really going to go out there, go with a guy who's facing the lefty, who crushes lefties with a 300 ISO.
So, Matt, which guy from this pile of trash would you like to take?
I can't believe how we've all just written Jose Ramirez off.
Yeah, because he
It's a
stinks.
real travesty. I don't get it either.
The guy was an all-star like the past 2 years. He was a borderline MVP candidate, and now he's had 2 bad months and he stinks.
Here we go. Matt's new Clayton Kershaw. It's Jose Ramirez. He just can't let go of the past. Go ahead, Matt. Keep going.
Listen, even if you think Jose Ramirez stinks, his team is implied for 5.4 runs tonight. Steve just gave you a guy who's batting leadoff, whose team is implied for nearly a run and a half less and costs more. Give me the guy in the better spot all day. We mentioned that we like the Indians tonight, so I think Ramirez is a solid buy low candidate.
What's his isolated power right now, Matt?
I don't know.
Okay, we know what it is? It stinks. How's that?
Listen, baseball is a game of streaks, sir.
Okay.
Sir.
And he's on a cold streak.
I can't wait for him to
55
heat up.
WRC plus for Jose.
I can't wait for him to heat up.
Oh, yeah, in September. Can't wait.
Let's
We'll all be
ignore what
waiting.
the guy has done for the past 5 years, and
All right,
let's
we got to get going here. The show, there's more stuff on the show.
Yeah,
Okay,
we're just sitting here waiting for
Yeah.
you guys to stop talking. That might be about as close as Matt's ever come to swearing at Bukes.
Yeah, but then
was
he said,
really,
"Sir."
Yeah, sir. Just a stern sir. Well, we'll see what.
Demand respect.
All right, shut up. We'll see what you guys bring to the table a little bit later on. We're going to step aside NBA futures bets next.
Hey, it's Brendan Glasheen and with your DraftKings Fantasy Flash. Congrats, Canada. The Toronto Raptors are world champions, and naturally our minds have already shifted to the NBA offseason, which is unquestionably the most compelling in sports. So many questions as potential player movement nears. Does Kawhi Leonard remain north of the border to defend the crown? Is the Warriors dynasty over? Kevin Durant's Achilles injury, the Klay Thompson ACL tear, they raise serious concerns. Making the playoffs in the West becomes a serious challenge, not to mention the fact both stars are pending free agents. Hey, by the way, Houston Rockets, you sure you want to blow up the roster now? Do the Los Angeles Lakers pull the trigger on the Anthony Davis sweepstakes? Has the door opened for LeBron James and company in La La Land? Are the Knicks in trouble? KD may stay in Golden State, and not so fast, Clippers. You're sweating too. Kawhi is beloved by an entire country. We now present to you the DraftKings Sportsbook 2020 NBA title odds. The Milwaukee Bucks atop the list at plus 500. Warriors, Lakers, and Raptors pull even at plus 700. And there are the Knicks, and possibly Kyrie Irving's Nets at plus 2,500. The draft is June 20th. Free agency begins the night of June 30th. The finals are over, but the NBA season is far from that.
Champions, and Kawhi is still a robot even while celebrating with the boys because that's just how he is.
I don't know,
But
did you see him with the goggles in the locker room, the
Yeah,
champagne, kind of
he
going like
was-
this a little bit?
Yeah, he was like engage fun mode. Like that was Kawhi. And
beautiful.
he did a great job. Just kidding. But because we are DraftKings and because, the season ended last night, of course, we're looking ahead to 2020 futures bets.
Yeah, we don't
obviously.
care about the here and now at all.
No.
It's all about the future at this
Yep.
point. So we're going to do NBA Seeing the Future with the guy who was just here, Matt LaMarca from the Action Network. And Matt, if you have any thoughts on Bukes, remember, it's easier to get him out when he can't immediately respond. But we're doing NBA right now. Raptors, as we said, NBA champs. They are tied for the second best odds to win the 2020 title. Now, a lot of that is going to depend on what Kawhi Leonard does because that team is going to drop well into mediocrity if he decides to leave, go to LA or wherever it may be, but he seems like he's found a home. He says he's found a home. We'll see if that holds when free agency actually begins. The Bucks, though, top the list, plus 500, followed by, again, the Raptors, who are tied with the Lakers and Warriors, neither of which I really understand in this moment, but I don't make those odds. Those are plus 700. So should the Bucks be number one, Matty?
Yeah, I think that they should. I think that that's right. At least how things stand right now. The Bucks were the best team in the league during the regular season. They had the best point differential. They were, top two in offensive and defensive efficiency. And basically, we know what their roster is going to look like next season. I mean, they're going to have to pay Chris Middleton, but I think it's a pretty strong bet that he ultimately ends up coming back. We saw some of their warts in the postseason, namely that Giannis Antetokounmpo still struggles to create a jump shot for himself when he needs to, but this guy is still very young. We know that he puts in the work in the off season. So it wouldn't be surprising to see him come back and have a new offensive wrinkle in his game. And we've also seen in the past that teams sort of need to go through their growing pains before they take that next step and ultimately win a title. So I think this is actually a pretty promising year one for the Bucks in terms of, their future. And I think just in terms of question marks out there, they probably have the least among all the contending teams. So I think that they make sense to be the favorites right now, but it wouldn't shock me if by the time the regular season rolls around, it's a different situation.
Are you surprised to see the Lakers on here after missing out on the playoffs in year one of the LeBron experiment?
Yeah, I'm really not, to be honest. The Lakers are in a pretty enviable situation right now, in my opinion. They have LeBron locked up, and it seems like they are the favorites to land Anthony Davis. That obviously could change, but Rich Paul, it seems like, is going to do everything in his power to get him to play with LeBron. And the Lakers, to be fair, have a pretty compelling package to offer to the Pelicans, especially now considering that they have the number 4 pick in the draft. So if you look at potentially pairing LeBron with Anthony Davis and look at all the competition around them, particularly the Western Conference could be decimated with the Warriors going down. Who knows what the Rockets are going to be after the whole Chris Paul, he might not even be on the team next year if they could find a trade partner. So I think that the Lakers are actually pretty appealing here at their current odds, despite the fact that they didn't even make the playoffs last year.
It's interesting, Matt, that the Warriors are where they are, obviously, since, Kevin Durant, even if he's there, is not going to play. Klay Thompson,
right,
if he's there, is not going to play for a long while. I don't know if he'd miss all of next year, but even if and when he does come back, he won't be the same guy. But focusing in on KD with the Knicks, that possibility exists. He could go to New York. Thing is, again, with the ruptured Achilles, he's not going to play. And so when you factor that in, and the Knicks having the 10th best odds at plus 2,500, would you think they'd have longer opening night odds? Because, again, that roster is not going to improve dramatically from where it is. Kyrie Irving doesn't appear to be going there either.
They should have longer odds. They should have much longer odds. Like you said, even if they do sign Durant, which I'm feeling less confident about that by the day for the Knicks. He's not going to play this year. Unless they trade for Anthony Davis, and it sounds like that also is diminishing by the day, the odds of that happening. This team is going to be equally poor to what they were this season when they had the worst record in basketball. Mm-hmm. Kyrie Irving is basically a lock to the Nets. Kawhi Leonard is not coming to New York. Kemba Walker has actually said he will take less money to return to Charlotte, mm-hmm, which makes absolutely no sense to me, but it's his life. He can do what he wants. So it doesn't seem like the Knicks, once again, they're putting all the eggs in the free agent basket, just like they did in that 2010 free agency class with LeBron James and Dwayne Wade. And it seems like they're going to come up broke. Hopefully they can still land Kevin Durant. But again, that's not really going to pay dividends next season. So if I could fade the Knicks right now, I would be more than happy to do so.
Good stuff, Maddie. We're going to let you go right now. We'll have Jeff and Reed on next for U.S. Open picks. But first, here's Pat Mayo.
Let's talk quarterbacks, though. I haven't broken these down into tiers yet or even rankings yet. I have like a preliminary look at like the order that I want to have them in. I need you to talk me in, talk me out of people. And I want to start with tier 1. Is Patrick Mahomes the number 1 quarterback coming into the season? And right now, we don't know what's going on with Tyreek Hill. Obviously, there's no Kareem Hunt on the team anymore, who was pretty valuable catching passes out of the backfield. Can he have the season he had last year? And what type of regression are we just looking at naturally? And how much will the impact of Tyreek Hill potentially not being around all season, 8 games, 10 games, whatever it might be, have on his overall stat line?
Dude, this is like you packed your bag way too full to fit on a plane question here. There's like so much to it. So the first part, let's talk about the Tyreek Hill part, because you and I already talked about it on the rookie show. In case anyone who hasn't watched that, they could. But if they don't want to, they drafted, do you want to say his name?
Cole Hardman. He's a caveman.
There you go. I thought you were going to go with the question mark one.
Oh, yeah.
I thought you liked that one better.
Cole Hardman? That one?
Whatever it may be. So we have to go down that road. And you said it. I said I would be surprised if he's not gone for the entire season. And then you said it's the NFL. Would you be surprised if it was 2 games? And honestly, no, I guess surprise wasn't the best answer. So let's look at that. But let's make the assumption that Tyreek Hill's at least the Kareem Hunt 10 games. That seems reasonable, if not for the full season. That's the first problem, is we're going to take out Tyreek Hill, and then you're putting in Hardman, and you're putting DeMarcus Robinson, probably even splitting number 2 duties by who the true number 2 is. And you have to take that away. Like, you have to take away the fact that Tyreek Hill is one of the best route runners, in addition to being an amazing downfield threat in the NFL. And all that being said, you have a drop-off from there. So that's the first part. So now we're talking about Patrick Mahomes' ended discussion with Andrew Luck and Aaron Rodgers, and maybe if you want to throw in Deshaun Watson in that same mix, like they're all together in my opinion. Before that, when Tyreek Hill was healthy, I think he was on a tier by himself. To your second part of the question about the inherent, already expected decrease in production. Like we all saw the numbers. We've seen Mike Clay, your boy Hollywood Mike Clay from ESPN tweet out the regression numbers of touchdown rates and offenses and blah, blah, blah. And even if you take the average regression, he still would have been by far the number one quarterback because on a points per game basis, he was still 3 or 4 points ahead of everybody. And even the best seasons from Andrew Luck when he neared 50 touchdowns to Cam Newton's great season, all those seasons, he was still averaging almost 2 points a game more than those seasons. So you pull him back, he was still on a tier by himself. But now when you add in Tyreek Hill, I think he's in the first tier. Number one quarterback, yes. But if you want to argue for somebody else, I'm not going to tell you you're crazy.
All right, Mayo and company, thank you very much. It is time to take a look at the U.S. Open with someone's favorite golf duo, Reed Fowler and Jeff Ulrich. Guys, welcome in, and listen, things are going well right now. You got Justin Rose in front by a stroke over Louis Oosthuizen as he continues to play.
Yeah, and we're looking for showdown picks for this weekend. So 3 players over 10K, Koepka, Woods, Johnson, Jeff. Who do you trust the most?
I love Brooks Koepka. I mean, why fade Brooks Koepka at the majors? I mean, I talked about this earlier yesterday, I think it was, but he's playing just fine. I mean, he's 4 under. He's T4 right now. I mean, a couple guys are falling back, so he's right in contention. And then, we're getting into crunch time here Saturday and Sunday. That's when Brooks Koepka has dominated these tournaments the last 2 years. So all due respect to Tiger, he's played well on the weekend too. He'd probably be my second pick, but Brooks Koepka, his ball striking is there. He's top 20 balls in fairways hit and greens in regulation. He just hasn't had like a hot fire putting round yet. But that's what he's been doing the last 2 years at this event. So for me, it's 100% Brooks Koepka from those 3.
Where are you going on this one, Reed?
Yeah, I don't mind that pick at all. I mean, when you get Brooks,
don't mind it.
Yeah, I don't mind it, Jeff. I mean, you're choosing one of the number one golfer. Surprise, surprise. You're like the best golfer in the world right now. But look, I mean, Tiger is the weekend golf. This is the guy, right? So I don't mind. Like I said, I don't mind Brooks. He's a fine play. But give me Tiger here. I mean, over the weekend, if you just look over his last 12 rounds, that dates back to the Tour Championship. This guy is elite on the weekends, man. He's fantastic with approach. He's second in DK scoring. So for winning, potentially, yeah, I do like Brooks a little bit more than Tiger right now. But for DK scoring, give me Tiger, who obviously is elite with his irons. We saw it today. He could not sink a putt. Right, I know Brooks was close to 100 at the 100th today or over the last 2 rounds. Tiger's right there with them. I mean, he gained 3.5 strokes on the first day, but then lost a stroke and a half putting. He just could not make a single putt, but everything was there. He hit fairways, hit greens. You like him at Pebble on the weekend, so don't mind Brooks. I like Tiger better.
Reed, don't take any crap from him, all right, of all people. He used to say don't mind picks all the time until we verbally just bullied it out of him.
And then Jeff does this thing where he picks every single person. He talks about every single person, picks all the golfers that he doesn't mind. So It really leaves no place for you to say anything about anyone.
Yeah,
no, it doesn't mind any of those guys.
You can't be wrong if you talk about every player.
Exactly, Jesse. Thank you.
I got you, Jeff.
There's a logic there. All right, Justin Rose, like I said, at the top of the leaderboard most of the day. He's a +1 right now. He is through 2 rounds. So $9,500 though, Jeff. How do you feel about that? Do you mind it?
Here's the thing about Justin Rose. He's a good front runner. He's putted really well in Poana greens over the West Coast. He won on the West Coast earlier this year, and he front runned at the Farmers Insurance when he won. He was ahead on basically the entire tournament after round 2. Issue is he's 100th in greens in regulation. That is going to catch up with you eventually at this tournament. You have to think it's going to catch up with you. So it's really hard for me to pay up for a guy like that in weekend golf whose irons just have really not been that sharp, and he's been getting away with a really, really good putter. Now, obviously, you need to putt good in these events to win. And as I mentioned before, Justin Rose is a pretty good front runner, but I still wouldn't want to pay up for him personally. I think that's too much. I also think that weekend golf, you want to take some of these players who are going to be aggressive from the back, especially at the U.S. Open where there's not a ton of birdies. So for me, it would be a no. I'd rather look down the roster and go for more value.
Mr. Fowler, he is turning his nose up at $9,500 for Justin Rose. How about you? You going to pay up?
No, I'm there with Jeff. I got a little distracted. Pierce Dietrich he's like fixing his flowing locks, and so I got a little distracted and caught off guard there. But like with Rose, he's exactly right. But it's not his putter, right? I mean, strokes gained putting at number 1 on Thursday. It regressed a little bit at 50th today in terms of ranking against the field. But man, he was top 5 in around the greens. Now that is what you want at this course, and so why is he not a good play? Well, it's because it's ball striking. He's ranked 83rd, and so he's saving a lot of his game, and he's putting extremely well. I think he only had 20 or so putts on Thursday, and that's what he's doing at Pebble. We always talk about it. That can switch. I mean, like I said, you look at Tiger. I mean, he went from really good to really bad, and you see where he's at. So you have guys like Fleetwood who might not be playing that well. If he makes the cut, I kind of like him a little bit more. We saw what he did at Erin Hills on a Saturday and Sunday weekend golf. And even Hideki is right there as well, where he's hitting his irons really well. These guys are cheaper. Ches Reavie, he's way down there. For Francesco, he went double and then bogey on 17 and 18 today. He's in the high 7K range. Give me those guys over Rosie.
Well, Reed, who's a guy who's been hot that you think could see some regression this weekend?
Yeah, it's Chesson Hadley. I mean, this guy, I mean, he missed 5 of his last 6 cuts. I mean, it's just like on the PGA Tour. And then he comes out and he goes guns blazing, right, in terms of his strokes gained putting. He was number 1 today, I believe, in strokes gained putting, but then 127th in ball striking. So off the tee and approach, just absolutely garbage. I mean, that's really Chesson's game, right, is his putting, and that can completely switch. We see it with the best golfers that completely switch. And then Jordan Spieth. I mean, I get this guy had 3 top 10s coming into this. Everyone loved him at Pebble Beach. He's fighting with his caddy. He got 7 birdies today, but I mean, he only finished at -1 for the tournament, and that is Jordan Spieth. Granted, that's nice for DK scoring where you can rattle off all those birdies, but I also think that when you're a little bit more aggressive on the weekends, like Jeff was mentioning, that's going to bite Jordan in the butt there. So no way.
Way to clean it up. Yeah, way to clean it up. It was good.
Jeff.
Yeah, I mean, I mentioned Louis Oosthuizen on the show yesterday. I'm gonna keep with that theme just because it's working out well. He's 1 under. I actually want Louis to win, but I talked about how he might be a regression candidate, and I'll stick with that. But his ball striking numbers are pretty good, so maybe just ignore that. I think it'd be Aaron Wise for me at the top right now. I mean, this is a player. He's a good young player, but this is really his first time being in contention in a major going into the weekend. You also look at his form coming in. I mean, he was all over the place. So he has played well in the majors this year, but man, like this is a little bit out of nowhere for me, and I'm a little bit skeptical that he's going to be able to keep this up. Now, he is talented, like I mentioned, but Aaron Wise would definitely be a big regression candidate. And yeah, I mean, Chesson Hadley, Ches Reavie, those are 2 guys you're probably not going to see at the top of the leaderboard either come Sunday. Scott Piercy, I'd add to that group.
Jeff, we need a slate-approved weekend lock, all right, for Pebble Beach. You going to stay with your guy? You going to try and will Louis Oosthuizen to victory? You going to pick somebody else?
See, when I pick Louis, when I actually pick him like for serious picks, he plays horrible. So
no,
you can't
do
picking
it.
Louis. That'd be a dumb idea, Kaufman.
I'm terribly sorry.
Leading greens and regulations, ball striking's immaculate right now. I think he's going to be a great weekend pick. Now, he's not putting well, but I think he's going to come through for DFS.
Reed was really amused when I called somebody dumb outside the show earlier, and just the tables have turned, I guess.
Yeah, simple. It's a very simple yet effective comment there. I like it. I don't know why Jeff doesn't like Ches Reavie. I mean, the guy is the West Coast swing man, so I do like Ches for weekend golf, but give me Ricky Fowler for the weekend. Hopefully he gets his first major. So
has Ches ever made the cut in a major? I mean, I don't know.
Like he's right there. He's number 1 in ball striking over the last 2 rounds. It's completely fine. I mean, I like Ches. He's got that flat brim hat. Give me Ches over Louis too. Ricky Fowler.
My gosh. Fighting words, I guess.
Yeah, I guess.
All right, we're going to let you guys go. I think it's maybe best that we separate the 2 of you at this stage. But how about we bring our baseball crew back next?
That sounds good, but first, it would not be Friday without you and Francesa.
This guy. Hey there, and a happy Francesa Friday to you. Adam Kaufman with Mike Francesa, host of Mike's On, WFAN in New York. All right, Mike, let's start in the NBA. In fact, let's do a lot of NBA. The Raptors won the NBA championship for the first time. First time the title has left the United States, in fact. But do you think Kawhi Leonard leaves Canada?
I really don't know. I have no understanding of what motivates him or anything else. I think that it's, unless there's some destination that is near and dear to his heart, I kind of would feel that he might have found the home. Now, that would be my initial thought, but unless he has already had plans all the way along and he has some major scheme that he's put together with somebody, he keeps his cards pretty close to the vest, so I really don't know, but I think that might bring him back considering what happened.
Well, I can't tell you if he's been scheming anything. What I can say is the reports have suggested Los Angeles, going back to when he was still in San Antonio, not just because, hey, everybody says L.A., and we know that from Westbrook and George and LeBron and so many others, but because L.A. is home. So would the draw, and probably not to go with LeBron, but would the draw, do you think, be enough to go play for the Clippers versus being in Toronto?
There have been rumors that he was going to have a house in San Diego anyway. Now, these guys can have houses anywhere they want.
Sure,
I don't like him and LeBron together at all under any circumstances. They would not play well together. They would be a bad fit. So I don't like them together at all. That's not the guy for him. The guy for LeBron just got hurt, and that was Thompson. He's the perfect player for LeBron. He couldn't make a better one in a factory. Then because his game is completely in touch and exactly communicates every part of the game together with LeBron. But now he's hurt, so I figure he'll stay in Golden State, rehab, sign a big contract, and put his whole career together there. But he'll probably miss a lot of next year with that injury.
If Kawhi winds up staying in Toronto, if he has found a home there, if he wants to build upon the success that clearly he had so much of in year one, do you think as a franchise the Raps can replicate what they just did this year? Or do you think that was kind of lightning in a bottle?
Lightning in a bottle unless they get a better second player. They need a better second player. They weren't the most talented team. They got a lot out of a lot of guys. Lowry came up tough when they needed it, but they got two great performances off the bench, one from Van Vliet, the other from Ibaka, who gave them so much in big spots. Remember, he was good when Gasol came. He took his demotion. He handled it well, and he gave them a lot of big lifts. They don't beat Milwaukee without Ibaka. They don't beat any of those last couple of teams without Ibaka and Van Vliet, who really – think about where his career was when the playoffs started. Think about where Van Vliet's career is now.
Sure.
I mean, there are a lot of teams that want Van Vliet now. No question about it.
Well, that second player, Kyle Lowry, I mean, this guy's going to make $35 million next year. You're not going to have room to add a more impressive guy, so you better hope someone's going to be better and ignore the salary.
Yeah, they need a better player. They really do. They need a more consistent second guy. Last night, they really won without Leonard doing a whole lot. They really did, but the problem was, the one thing they did, I got to give them credit for, is they played really good defense. The box and one really worked well when Thompson was off the floor. And box and one is a gimmicky high school, college defense. You don't usually – I've never seen it before in the NBA ever. So it worked really well. Curry had a very bad second half. The guy who was holding them in really was Iguodala, who really held them, in the game last night. I thought the biggest play in that game was – obviously Thompson getting hurt, but beside that, when Van Vliet hit at the end of the shot clock, the three that made it 91 up, when they tossed it to him in desperation and he head faked and made that three and tied the game at 91, thought it was the biggest basket of the game.
So, as you've acknowledged, Klay Thompson, he tore his ACL one game after Kevin Durant ruptured that Achilles. Thompson, unrestricted free agent. Durant will be if he doesn't just opt in for the $32 million and collect the check while he watches all year. You expect the Warriors to bring them both back? I know you said you think that Thompson's going to go back. How do you think Golden State handles this?
It's going to be interesting because, they really aren't in control of Durant, so there's not much they can do.
Right.
But I think they want Thompson back long term. I don't think Durant will go back. I think Durant will still get a max contract somewhere else. I know that people are speculating that it wouldn't be a good signing and stuff like that. I think there will still be, because it's Durant, I think there'll still be multiple teams that will offer him a big deal in free agency. I think Thompson now for sure will go back and sign with Golden State and do his, rehab and then be on his way. But I think this will absolutely bring him back to Golden State. I don't think there's any question.
Knowing full well, Kevin Durant is not expected to play next year. He may not even be the same guy the following year. So you're talking about max contract, roughly $40 million range anyway, 2 straight years, which would be half of that contract if a team other than Golden State maxed him out? We know the Knicks are crazy enough to do it and care enough about the attention to do it, but who else would do it?
I think
it'd be smart also.
Listen, there's a risk here. There's no question. But I think your risk is to, and I put doctors on about it yesterday, the risk they seem to feel was to him injuring the other leg now. And maybe in a big way. If he did it in a big way, you'd be insured anyway. What you don't want is a guy who plays 2 games and misses 2 games, plays 2 games and misses 2 games. That guy can't help you. The guy who misses all the games, you're insured. The guy who comes up big, I think Durant's body type and the type of athlete he is, I think he will still be good. I would not be afraid, and I understand. I can't tell you there's another player out there with the exception of LeBron James who I would sign off an injury except Durant. I don't think there's another one out there, but that's how unique a player he is. You have to wait a generation to get your hands on a Durant. I would still take a chance on him if I were a team that had the max money.
The boys are back.
Scary.
DK Live, Steve Buchanan, Pierce Dietrich, and the Action Network's Matt LaMarca. They are our MLB panel, and they are here to chase or fade with us.
I hope they've calmed down as well. Chase or fade, a.k.a. agree or disagree. I think any loyal of the viewer, and certainly you panelists that are regulars, you know that by now. So let's start. Astros at home over the Blue Jays, guys. Twins at home over the Royals. Those are the biggest favorites tonight that we want to talk about in this 15-game slate, both over minus 200 odds. So chase or fade that at least one of these teams is going to be upset tonight. Pierce?
I'll chase. How about we give the Twins their opportunity here to lose?
Sure.
I don't think you can believe that Cole is going to blow it. Although Cole did blow a sure thing against Chicago a couple weeks ago, but that's anecdotal. I wouldn't use that as a research-based pick. But you look at the Twins, you've got Kyle Gibson, who's given up home runs over his career, and he's giving up home runs again. If he gives up a couple home runs, they can probably let this game down. And Keller's been decent on the other side, only 24% ground ball rate, or 24% fly ball rate. He can keep in. It's a possibility there.
Matty, you want to chase or fade Minnesota or Houston getting upset tonight?
Yeah, I'm with Pierce. I will chase this. I mean, listen, this is still baseball. The best teams win roughly 60% of the time, and the worst teams win roughly 40% of the time. So if I can get 2 shots here at better than plus 200 odds, I think that's enticing. I agree that the Twins are the more likely team to go down, exactly for the reasons that Pierce just said. Gibson is a pretty mediocre pitcher. He's pitched to an ERA over 4 this season, and the Twins have made a living just by crushing the baseball. So if they have a night where their bats are cold, which I think happens occasionally, even in Minnesota, they're definitely vulnerable to an upset in that situation.
Well, I hear 60% of the time it works every time. Yeah, that's what they say. But Bukes, I'm sure you want to disagree with something.
Yeah, neither of these teams are going to get upset tonight. I mean, look, the Blue Jays ain't no Raptors, okay? They're not going to win any series anytime soon. Nothing's going to happen over there with Toronto, okay?
Probably not good at basketball either.
And then we're talking about the Twins. Like, we do realize how good this offense is, right? And then the Royals offense, who do they have on that team? Nobody. So Whit Merrifield, we'll give him some credit. Whit Merrifield is okay, but no. I mean, look, I understand Kyle Gibson is nothing special, but that Royals offense isn't anything special. That bullpen isn't anything special. And Brad Keller certainly isn't anything special either. I don't see how the Twins lose in this one here. They're averaging like almost 6 runs per game at home this season, and this offense is just firing on all cylinders right now. So, no, I'm not going with either one.
All right, Steve, listen carefully. The Padres and Rockies have a huge over-under of 12, which is the highest on the slate. Meanwhile, the lowest total is set at 7 in the Angels-Rays game, with Andrew Heaney facing Blake Snell. Now, chase or fade that the under in LA-Tampa game is more likely to hit than the 12-run over in Colorado.
That was a lot to digest. Like, it's a Friday. Like, that was a big question for me.
I know.
I think the over is more likely here. I mean, look, the Angels have been pretty good against lefties, actually, and we've seen Snell implode before. There's not a lot of strikeout with Snell either in this game, so I think there's actually a chance that we could see some offense in that Rays Angels game. So I'm going to go with the Rockies game here. Obviously, I was thinking maybe the under could hit in that game last night, but that certainly didn't happen. They ended up scoring 15 runs in that game because I want to give some respect to the Padres bullpen. They've actually been pretty decent, but they didn't look too decent last night. So, two mediocre pitchers going again in Coors Field. So I'll take the over on that instead.
Pierce, chase or fade that the under is more likely to hit than the over?
I'm with Steve. Obviously, I'm big in this Colorado-San Diego game, but it's really close. I believe they're both going to happen. I believe the over is going to happen and the under is going to happen. Heaney is in a really good spot. The Rays strike out. They have power against lefties, but they also strike out a ton against lefties. And Heaney over the last couple of years has been using a curveball that's worked really effectively against right-handed bats. Heaney can definitely pile up the strikeouts and keep this game under. Plus, Heaney's biggest thing is he gives up home run balls and he's pitching in Tropicana Field, so that will be neutralized. I believe they both happen, but the over is more likely.
Matt, where are you going?
I disagree with these gentlemen. I actually really, really like the under in this game, the Angels game, that is.
Such a polite disagreement.
Sharps have been just pounding the under in this contest. The total has fallen from 8 to 7. Right now, only 29% of the bets are on the under, but those bets are accounting for more than 50% of the money. So the significant wagers that are coming in on the under in that game. I agree with what Pierre said about Heaney being in a great spot. We know Tampa Bay really struggles against lefties. Blake Snell, not a great season, but still obviously one of the better pitchers in baseball. I like the under in that contest significantly more than the over in the other one.
Guys, let's talk about Cubs outfielder Kyle Schwarber, right? Because he went below the Mendoza mark in May, under 200 average. He's been much better to start June. I realize we're not too far into June, I guess midway point at this point, but 313 average, 5 long balls, and a dozen RBI. He went 2 for 4 last night against the Dodgers. That included a solo home run, so just keep bringing up that total. He is plus 700 tonight to homer and for the Cubs to win. Now, lefty Rich Hill, my close personal friend, is on the other side for LA. So chase or fade here that Schwarber is able to go deep again and lead those Cubbies to a W on the road. Pierce.
I don't think these odds are high enough for me. I mean, Schwarber over his career has not hit lefties. He's hitting them this year, but we'll go with the Matt LaMarca plan, and that's if he hasn't hit lefties through his entire career, then he shouldn't hit lefties right now. And Rich Hill hasn't given up a home run to a lefty all year. His ISO is below 100. So not only do the Cubs have to win in a tough matchup, but you need Schwarber to hit a home run against a guy who's absolutely not giving up fly balls. I think his hard hit rate is 3% to lefties. The odds need to be much, much better in your favor.
Schwarber homer in a win. Bukes, plus 700. What do you think?
Nah, I don't like these at all either. I mean, look, Rich Hill, I'm not a fan at all. I've never been a fan. And I'm waiting for LaMarca to say something. It's a Dodger, so I've never liked Rich Hill, but if there's one thing he does do well, it's pitch against lefties, and this is just not a good matchup for Schwarber. Let's just say Hill goes 6 innings. I mean, I know Schwarber's batting leadoff, but realistically, what does he have? Maybe 2 at-bats where he can maybe hit a home run off somebody in the bullpen if he's lucky. I don't like those odds there. Like kind of Pierce said, they're just too small for the bad matchup for him. For realistically, half the game is in a matchup that doesn't favor him at all. So I don't like this at all. I would definitely fade this one.
LaMarca, you want to stand up for Hill?
Yeah, of course. He's got a 2.4 ERA and a 10.4 K per 9 this season.
Yeah, get it together, Bukes.
Steve hates him. Steve just hates elite lefty pitchers for the Dodgers.
Elite.
I'm going there.
The statistics are elite. The stats are elite. Not saying the player is.
I don't think Rich Hill's elite. I just wanted to give Steve a little dig there. I wholeheartedly agree with these guys, though, on this question. Like, these odds are way too short. Even just Schwarber hitting a home run at plus 700 seems short. Now you got to add in the fact that the Cubs are going to win a game against arguably the best team in baseball, too. So I'm way off on this bet.
They're playing the Twins tonight? I didn't know that.
Oh, you are just awful.
You guys.
Not a nice person.
Please take a break, okay? Adam went one-on-one with Rays reliever Jalen Beeks earlier today, so that conversation going to be coming your way in a little bit.
But first, Jonah Carey, good friend of the show, is going to tell us how the Minnesota Twins have turned that season around.
The Minnesota Twins were a forgettable baseball team last year. They finished miles off the pace. And you fast forward to the offseason, they made some moves, granted, but were the Twins really a threat to dethrone the three-time reigning AL Central champion Cleveland Indians? Turns out, yes. They are way ahead, 10.5 games ahead as we speak in the AL Central Division. And you look at some of the things that the Twins have done this year, it's been incredible. Through 66 games, they have the best record in franchise history. They have the highest slugging percentage in franchise history. They have the best run differential in all of baseball. And get this, they've hit 81 home runs on the road this year. That's more than they hit on the road all of last season. It's a powerhouse of a lineup. Think about Tuesday's game against the Mariners. Here the Twins are down 2 runs in the bottom of the 8th inning, and they've got the top of the order coming up. Double walk, all 3 of those guys, Max Kepler, Jorge Polanco, Nelson Cruz come around to score, and the Minnesota Twins win the game. You cannot count them out from a gambling point of view because they keep winning ball games. You can't count them out from a fantasy point of view because they've got great hitters up and down the lineup. I know, I roster Kepler, Polanco, and Cruz myself. And from a DFS perspective, if you can't figure out who to put out there on the Twins, put them all out there. Stack them against whoever you've got. Okay, we know all these things are going well. Can they win the World Series? Well, it is maybe the strongest batting order in all of baseball. The only real weakness is the bullpen. Make a trade or two for a relief pitcher. Continue to ride that red-hot lineup. Continue to ride Jose Barrios and Jake Odorizzi at the top of the order. And maybe, just maybe, for the first time in 28 years, the Minnesota Twins might be up to something big.
Former Red Sox draft pick, current Rays southpaw Jalen Beeks here with us on The Sweat. Jalen, how's it going?
Doing great, man. How are you?
I'm doing well as well, thank you. Now, the Rays, you got to be doing better because you got the best pitching staff in baseball. Who's the unsung hero of your group? And you're not allowed to say yourself, but I know you're way too humble to do that anyway.
Yeah, we got so many good pitchers. Chirinos has picked us up a lot over the last couple weeks. I mean, obviously the go-to guys have been Charlie and Snell, and we've got just such a good group. But Chirinos has really picked the team up.
Who's the toughest batter that you've faced in your short time in the majors?
The toughest batter, man, I faced a lot of good players. I mean, I faced Mike Trout last year. I don't know how you can't go with him. I faced some, Hall of Famers. I mean, it's just crazy to think about. But I'd say Mike Trout.
Is it tough to not be kind of, starstruck, for lack of a better term, when you're in those situations? Like, you got a job to do. You belong there as much as the next guy, but you're looking at maybe an all-timer on the other side.
Absolutely. I mean, it's more after and before. Once you get in the game, you're just in attack mode. Adrenaline's pumping. You're like, I don't care who's in the box. I'm coming after you kind of deal. But after the game, I mean, you play Pujols. Like, obviously I didn't mention Mookie Betts when he was hot last year. JD Martinez, like, those are some unbelievably good baseball players. So just afterwards that I might be, pitching against Hall of Famers, which I faced Beltre and Miggy, and you know what I mean? I've just faced so many great Hall of Famers. It's crazy to think about after the game.
Well, and you mentioned Betts, Martinez, 2 of the better hitters in baseball, and you were teammates with those guys. So is it, when you're then on the other side, is it, crap, like now I got to deal with these guys? That was the one benefit of playing with them. I didn't have to face them.
Yeah. I mean, it goes through your mind a little bit just because of how they're just good at hitting every single pitch. They don't really have a weakness. You kind of just pitch to their worst strength, I guess is what you'd say. But, just, again, getting to play with them was just an honor. I was on that, got to be a part of that World Series team, won so many games. I mean, no one can take that away from me. So super blessed.
Does it help just in general going against a guy that you've played with, knowing tendencies because you've either been in the clubhouse with him or you've watched a bunch of tape of him or you just know what he's good at, what he isn't good at, just having that proximity to a player, does that help, or is it really no different than facing a complete stranger?
No, I definitely think it helps. But the thing is, he also knows me. You know what I mean? So it's
right.
It's the same deal. In the end, like I've just even sitting in AAA, just watching the big league team, you see where all their they're hitting these certain pitches. You just see it over and over and over again. So you kind of got that in the back of your head. But in the end, you just go to your strengths.
Tampa's having a fantastic year. Really, you guys have a million strengths. Incredible road record. That's one of them. How have you guys been so comfortable away from home?
I just think it's the atmosphere that we have in this clubhouse, with our leaders like KK, and Charlie's been, obviously a newcomer, but he's been leading in his own way. It's just a relaxed clubhouse that we feel like we can perform at our best when everybody's comfortable.
Going back to the Sox, you made your big league debut for that team last year. You remember the date?
No, I don't.
Month, probably, right? I mean, that's got to be noteworthy to you.
Yeah.
July 7th, you came up. You went against Detroit. Now, I cautiously asked, do you remember how you did?
Well, yeah, I think I'll always remember that it didn't go great. But at the same time, it was awesome. It was awesome.
Yeah.
First inning was rough. First couple innings was rough, but I still had a good time.
Last July, of course, not long after you made that big league debut for Boston, you actually got moved to Tampa in the deal that brought Boston Nathan Eovaldi, who was a huge part of winning that World Series for the Sox. So that's reason enough to get a ring, if you ask me. But did Boston send you one?
Absolutely. Dombrowski and AC Cora, first time here, they brought it out to me. It wasn't anything big. It was a small little thing, but it's still exciting. They gave it to me. It had the nice box on it and the lights and just an amazing piece of jewelry. I'm not a jewelry guy, but I thought it was pretty awesome. So definitely going to get a safety deposit box for that.
Yeah, I was going to ask if you keep that thing under lock and key.
Yes, absolutely. And I'm just between me and my wife. I sent it home. Not going to tell anybody where that's at. Not going to show it off much.
Do you ever wear it? It'd be weird, obviously, to wear it around with your current teammates, but do you ever wear it like if you're at home or out to a nice dinner or something like that?
No, not yet. I don't think I could. I would just feel uncomfortable with that. And at the same time, it wasn't like I was like on the playoff roster as they went.
Sure.
So, I'm glad to be a part of it, but I'm probably going to keep that one under lock and key. Look for another one this year. I might wear that one if we get one this year.
Jalen Beeks, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Welcome to the Price Check. I'm Pierce Dietrich. Let's look at the salaries for Iowa. Whose salary jumped up this week? Tyler Reddick. $10,900 up to $11,600. He won last week at Michigan. The week before that, he should have won at Pocono. The week before that, he did win at Charlotte. Brandon Jones, $8,000 up to $8,800. It's Father's Day weekend, and there is no better father than J.R. Jones. The CEO of Ream has paid for his son Brandon to be a pro driver for the last 6 seasons. Josh Balicki, $4,800 up to $5,500. Let me let you in on a little secret. If he's got a sponsor on the hood on Sunday, then he's going to race. If the hood is blank, he's going to start and park. Whose salary dropped this week? Cole Custer, $11,400 down to $10,700. Like Jones, he's got a rich daddy. Unlike Jones, he has talent, and he is one of the few contenders in this race. Alex LeBay, $6,500 down to $5,800. He is too cheap. Welcome to LeBay Chalk Week. Anytime he's under $6,000, he is optimal. He's a short track racer, and he has experience at Iowa. Joe Graff Jr., $7,100 down to $6,500. He failed to qualify in an RCR car last week. Then he stages a photo of himself looking distraught. Come on, Zoomers, do better. Favorite player of the week, Christopher Bell, $11,100. He's the best Xfinity driver. He's one of the best NASCAR drivers. He had the fastest car in both Iowa races last season. Harrison Burton, $8,400, just too cheap of a price tag for the 18 JGR car last year in a truck race. He finished third at Iowa. All right, guys, check out the DK Playbook for your DFS information and needs if you have NASCAR questions. Hit me up on Twitter at Race for the Prize. I'm Pierce Dietrich. Catch me on DK Live.
All right, let's wrap up this show with our baseball panel. We got Steve, we got Pierce, we got Matt. Back once again for Put Up Your Bukes.
Hey,
let's go.
Yeah, looks better on the graphic. Steve's going to give us his top DFS picks with DK point totals. These guys are going to debate them. I think it's easy enough. Everybody understands how that works. So can we get a first one and not look at Brendan?
That's a great photo of Brendan too. Yeah, we're gonna roll with Steve and Matz here for 25 DK fantasy points. Look, there's no way around it. He's been absolutely fantastic at Citi Field this season. He's facing a Cardinals team that, quite frankly, is nothing special against lefties, and especially when they're on the road. 311 WOBA, 163 isolated power, 23.3 K percentage. And then you look at Matt's numbers at home, 293 WOBA, 3.24 xFIP at Citi Field. I think he's honestly one of the best mid-tier options we have on this slate. Really wondering what his ownership is going to look like, too, because I feel like there's a lot of different ways you can go on this slate. So I will absolutely take Matt in a really, really good spot here at home.
All right. Here's your chance, LaMarca. Tell him he's an idiot.
Well, first, I'd like to commend Steve for actually sending the picks out ahead of time.
Oh, here we go.
And I'd also like to commend him for taking some stands. I mean, no 7-point DraftKings points projections on today's picks. So thank you for putting on the big boy pants today.
Okay, let's go. Let's go. Were you not prepared again this time? Stop stalling.
He's just happy you're wearing pants.
I think 25 is a absolute ceiling game from Steven Matz. Could he do it? Yes. I don't feel very confident that he gets there. I mean, the Cardinals are a mediocre team against left-handed pitchers, but they're pretty low in terms of strikeout rate this season against southpaws. Steven Matz is not a dominant strikeout pitcher. I mean, he's coming off 10 Ks in his last outing against the Rockies, but the Rockies on the road are basically like the worst offense in baseball. So that doesn't impress me all that much. I think that Matz is a fine option, but I would be looking for something more in the 18 DraftKings point range than 25.
LaMarca channeling his inner Shania Twain. What do you think there, Pierce?
I appreciate the bold pick, but this is probably a little too much mustard on the hot dog. 25 points from Steven Matz. He's got that, twice this year? And I know it's an average matchup, but you need better than an average matchup to hit 25 points for Steven Matz. We like the high projection here, but you don't even really need 25 points from a $7,100 pitcher tonight.
Yeah, driver. Okay.
All right.
Think about your pizza delivery again?
Okay, Steve, let's get your second buke, please.
Yeah, we're going to go with Hernan Perez for 16 DK fantasy points. I mean, he usually draws into the lineup when he's facing a lefty, and that's exactly what he's getting today against one of our favorite pitchers to pick on, which is Drew Pomeranz. Perez has a 384 WOBA, 241 isolated power with 3 of his 5 home runs against lefties. And then you look at the atrocious numbers that Pomeranz has, 410 WOBA, 4.84 xFIP against righties. I don't care where this matchup is. All I know is Drew Pomeranz stinks. Hernan Perez is amazing against lefties, so we like the 16 DK fantasy points for tonight.
Pierce, what do you think about the pick, and what do you think about 16 DK fantasy points?
This is Boston bias. He's just mad that Drew Pomeranz sucked when he was at the Boston Red Sox. That's all this is, 100%. He is still salty that Pomeranz couldn't pitch for the Red Sox. He's not going to hit a home run in San Francisco tonight. I don't care if he's got the advantage. He's not hitting a home run in San Francisco. I, again, appreciate the bold play, but don't play Hernan Perez tonight.
LaMarca, do you appreciate the bold play on this one?
This is a bad one, Steve. I'm sorry. Hernan Perez over his last 15 days has a fly ball rate of 7%. Unless you can figure out how to hit a homer on a ground ball, I don't like his chances of leaving the yard tonight, particularly in the cavernous AT&T Park. So he's batting 6th in the lineup too, and he's not even that cheap at $3,600. I'm way out on Hernan Perez.
You got to admit though, Bukes' eye roll is right there at the level of Pomeranz getting outs.
Oh yeah, he plays the condescending card very, very well.
Play it? This is my life.
Yeah, he's generally a jerk. You're giving him way too much credit.
Hey, Jessie, come on.
Come on.
Do we have another one?
Yes, this is a Tom Rizia special here. This is Jordan Luplow at 12 DK fantasy points. This dude just has some monster numbers against lefties. 447 WOBA, 433 isolated power with 7 of his 8 home runs. He's facing Ryan Carpenter, and believe me, this is not somebody you're going to be worrying about taking the mound. I mean, against righties, it's allowing a 436 WOBA, 5.65 xFIP, 6 of his 9 home runs. This guy is an absolute atrocity out on the mound. Luplow, with the rest of the Indians, I think you're in a good spot. You know, if Matt disregards this one, he's a total fraud because he just said that earlier in the show. So let's see him try to disregard this one. So let's go to Matt first, see if he's a fraud or not.
You want me to jump right in?
Yeah, he called on you. We're just going to sit back, let him run the show.
I disagree only in this regard. 12 is conservative. I think he's got significantly more upside than that. We have a ceiling projection on him at Fantasy Labs of 26 DK points tonight. So 12, I think, is
how much?
More of like a median outcome than a ceiling game. I think Luplo has particularly big upside. I mean, you mentioned the numbers versus left-handers. Just outstanding. He's going to be hitting smack dab in the middle of that Indians lineup. I like Luplo even more than Steve does, apparently.
Did you say 26 DK fantasy points?
Yeah, ceiling projection. Ceiling projection.
Pierce, very, very quickly. We're tight on time.
Yeah, Luplo's in a good spot. But this is a classic Steve Buchanan pick. 12 points from a guy that cost $4,200. Cool, awesome. 26 points, I'll take that.
All right, fellas, you're great. Get out of here. Have a weekend. This it's been a lot of fun. We're going to be back Monday, 6 o'clock.
Yes.
Don't forget, Pat Mayo, 7:15, 15 minutes from now. He's going to do a live cut sweat on YouTube. You do not want to miss it. Go Mayo! Golf! Yeah!